Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Today we look at an international drugs ring who used a Welsh delivery depot to bring £186 million worth of heroin and cocaine into the UK, a court has heard. The gang imported up to 1,304 kilograms of Class A drugs into the country by manipulating the UPS depot in Deeside. This would involve UPS team leader Daniel Taylor keeping an eye out for packages which contained high purity blocks of Class A's sent from Spain and the Netherlands. He would then lift the packages from delivery vans without scanning them, leave work and drive to meet accomplice Darren Roberts. Mould Crown Court heard the parcels would then be passed to Wirral man Stephen Metcalf, who collected them on behalf of alleged kingpin Christopher Gibney. Thought to be from Merseyside, Mr Gibney is said by prosecutors to still be at large. The gang created a unique system by utilising UPS waybills to smuggle 150 drug packages into the country from Europe between May 2019 and October 2020. Real company names such as G-Star Raw were used as a cover to import the drugs after the group sent empty waybills, a document issued by UPS to acknowledge the possession of a shipment to drug suppliers overseas. The waybill will be attached to the parcel with a receiver paid box ticked, meaning the parcels were sent via UPS free of charge. The system also meant the parcels would arrive in the UK by road and ferry rather than by air, thereby avoiding them being x-rayed. Destination addresses for the packages were also chosen to ensure they went through the depot in Deeside, where Mr Taylor, 41, worked. The crooks would track the parcels, and if they were delayed, Mr Taylor would even change his shifts to make sure he got his hands on them. But the gang were put under surveillance by covert officers who soon put together a picture of how the audacious drug operated. Miss Thomas, prosecuting, said Mr Taylor would arrive during the early hours and intercept parcels by scanning them out as if they had been collected. This meant the packages never made their way to the real companies they were addressed to. Miss Thomas said by using waybills, they were also able via the UPS website to track the movement of the parcels as they made their way from Europe to the UK, which allowed Mr Taylor to know exactly which unit of the depot the parcels would be at. Mr Taylor would regularly scan the parcels out of the system using the names of other people who worked alongside him at the depot. She said after Mr Taylor scanned out the parcels, he would meet Mr Roberts, 46, who would convey the packages to Mr Metcalf, 43, of Fairway North, Bromborough, Wirral. Phone data showed a high level of contact between the three men in and around the days of deliveries. There would be contact between Mr Metcalf and a mobile phone, which the prosecution attributed to Mr Gibney. The court heard that actions came to light when the encrypted messages sent and received on the phone attributed to Mr Gibney were intercepted by the French authorities. Miss Thomas said these texts showed the level at which the gang were operating and included talk about how the gang were bringing cocaine and heroin into the UK, with messages referring to them doing it 3 times a week, and that there was always stock. Using delivery data, automatic number plate recognition and phone records, Miss Thomas said police were able to show the gang used the waybill system to import packages from Europe on 150 separate occasions between May 2019 and October 2020. Most arrived into the UK undetected, but the authorities made 4 key seizures during the conspiracy period, where they recovered more than 20 kilograms of heroin and 8 kilograms of cocaine. The first was February 2020, when a parcel from Amsterdam was intercepted by Border Force officers at UPS depot in London. It was addressed to a garage in St Asaph, near Mr Rao, and was labelled car parts, but actually contained 7 packages of heroin with a street value of almost £500,000. The second seizure in June 2020 was intercepted from the Netherlands and was addressed to a garage in Wirral. It contained 8 packages of cocaine with a street value of up to £1 million. In October 2020, 2 parcels were sent from the UPS depot in Amsterdam, which were intercepted by Mr Taylor. Police surveillance captured him and Mr Roberts meeting afterwards, when Mr Taylor handed the parcels over after taking them out of the system. Both men were arrested and the packages were found to contain heroin worth £1 million. Prosecutors said Mr Metcalf and Mr Gibney became aware that something was wrong and engaged in a flurry of text as Mr Gibney tried to contact Mr Roberts 18 times in just one day. Mr Metcalf was also seen travelling to North Wales in his work vehicle before he decided to change his phone number. The final seizure took place in October 2020 when a parcel sent from a company address in Buckley, near Mould, was seized in the East Midlands and found to contain 40 blank waybill sheets ready to be filled out. The prosecution said the potential street value of the packages that made it through undetected were estimated to have a street value of between 138 million and 186 million pounds. Ms Thomas said the seizures alone show the industrial nature of the criminality involved. Police searched Mr Taylor's address in Greenfield, Holywell, and found waybill numbers that were used to transport 27 of the parcels. At Mr Roberts' home in Cadden Drive, Bagillet, near Holywell, they found £18,500 in cash, a note addressed to Amsterdam, and a letter confirming he was a key worker for UPS, even though he was actually never employed by them. Mr Metcalf was later arrested on October 21st, 2020, and all three men admitted conspiring to import cocaine and heroin. A defence lawyer for Mr Taylor, who had no previous convictions, said the hard-working man was performing under the directions of others. They told the court he was devastated for what he had done to his family and that his remorse was not only genuine but heartfelt. Mr Roberts, who was also of a previous good character, claimed he couldn't fathom how he got involved and had no influence on those higher up in the chain. They said he got involved when he was having debt problems and then found there was no way out. His lawyer said it's what happens to people who dance with the devil. He is a destroyed man who won't see his young children for many years, and his wife will lose the home they legitimately paid for. Mr Metcalf had 11 previous convictions for 15 offences and has served time for a drug offence, but was said to have not been in trouble for 16 years. His lawyer described him as a family man and said his downward spiral had been a fall from grace. Judge Rhys Rowland said the offences came to light as a result of excellent work by the police. The three of you played pretty crucial roles in what was a sophisticated enterprise, with huge quantities of Class A drugs being sent from Spain and the Netherlands to this country via a parcels depot on Deeside, where Mr Taylor was employed. They were addressed to innocent third parties and intercepted by Mr Taylor before suspicion was aroused. Mr Roberts and Mr Metcalf, you were involved in the onward transmission of the drugs. The judge said he accepted there were others above them in the pyramid of control. He said it wouldn't have worked if not for the roles the three of you were playing, and you would have been aware of the scale of the risks by taking part. Judge Rowlands added, you were all in this to make money, going behind the backs of your families, who I accept have been decimated to find out what you've done. He said the sheer scale of the operation had the potential to cause untold misery across communities in North Wales, Merseyside and further afield. The judge said he took into account their guilty pleas and letters of reference from friends, family and employers, but jailed them for 15 years each. He said none of you were playing peripheral or transient roles. Each of you had important roles to play and you have played them repeatedly. Speaking after the case, a spokesman for UPS said, security is and always has been a high priority at UPS. We continuously assess our processes and procedures to evaluate potential issues and mitigate any kind of risk. So what are your thoughts about this Wales-based gang and how they imported and distributed Class A drugs around the country, even behind the backs of their families? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay safe.